Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, students, how are you today? I hope all of you are fine. Welcome to fascinating, interesting grammar lesson. I am Bambang Susanto. I am teacher of English of SMK YPM 3 TAMAN Sidoarjo. And before starting this lesson today, let's start for our lesson today by praying to our God Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala in order that our teaching learning can run well as our expectation. And also, we have known that in pandemic condition or COVID-19 like this, we must increase our immunity. And in this case, I have a method, I have a way to increase our immunity. It is Quranic immunity method as the way. Let's start it. Ila hadratin Nabil Mustafa Muhammadin sallallahu alaihi wasallam wa ala alihi wa azwaji wa auladi wa durriyatihi summa ila hadrati ihwani minal anbiya wal mursalin wal awliya wa syuhada wa salihin wa sahabati wa tabi'in wal ulama il amilin wa jamil malaikatil muqarrabin khususan Sayyidina Syekh Abdul Qadir Jailani radhiyallahu an jailana wa lahumul Fatihah. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin arrahmanir rahim maliki yaumiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghairil maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Rabbi ufirli wa liwalidayya amin. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Law kana fihima alihatun illallahu lafasadata Fasubhanallahi rabbil arsy amma yasifun. Seandainya pada keduanya di langit dan di bumi ada Tuhan-Tuhan selain Allah, tentu keduanya telah binasa. Maha suci Allah yang memiliki arsy dari apa yang mereka sifatkan. Well, students, some students say that English is a very difficult exactly for grammar lesson. It is difficult to understand, so that it has an impact on another types of grammar. One of them is about conditional sentences. They feel difficult because there are few types of conditional sentences. They don't understand how to differentiate the conditional sentences. They confuse when they use zero, first, second, or third conditional sentence. It's very confused for them. That's why here I create this video to discuss about conditional sentences. We only talk about conditional sentences. And in this case, we are focused on the conditional sentence type 1. Or sometimes it's called as a first conditional. We will talk about they are different, how they are different with the other one. And before discussing it, here I would like to talk about the learning objective of this discussion, exactly for conditional sentences. The learning objective of this discussion is in KD, or sometimes in English called as a based competence on 3.20 for knowledge competency and 4.20 for the skill competency. And the learning objective of this discussion is by watching this video, students are able to analyze the subclause and main clause of conditional sentences. Type 1, rightly. And then second one, is by watching this video, students are able to analyze the verb used on conditional sentence type 1 rightly. Well, students, here I have a few sentences of conditional sentences, and have a look the differences between each sentences. The first is, if you study hard, you get good mark on your lesson. Number 2, if you practice more, you will improve. Number 3, if I took English course, I will be good in English. If I had enough money, I would have bought a new car. It is a few sentences of conditional sentence. That's why you have to know that it's very different each sentences. Based on the sentence above, we know that they have an if clause and main clause. But here, there are some difference between them, especially in verb tenses. In verb tenses, it's different, and of course, they have difference in meaning. One of them is about the fact. Second one is about the possible, and then the third one is about unreal present, and the last one is about imaginary past. But in this case, we are going to focus on the types, only one types. It is conditional sentence type 1, or sometimes it's called first conditional. Conditional sentence type 1, it's also called the possible conditional. We are not talking about the fact. We are not talking about the fact. We are not talking about unreal present. We are not talking about imaginary past. But we are talking about the possible future result. Once more, we are talking about the possible future result. And it means that tentative. It may happen or it not may happen. In conditional sentence, I think it's possible in the future. And we can use first conditional to talk about 1, about the prediction. Number 2 is about the supposition. Number 3, plans. Number 4, promises. Number 5, offers. Number 6, suggestion. And the last is warnings. We use conditional sentence type 1. We can use all of them. Okay, students, there are a lot of different ways that we can use the first conditional sentence, right? In the first conditional sentence, we are not using present as a main clause, but we can use the simple future as the main clause. Once more, we can use simple future as a main clause, but we use simple, and here I can conclude that conditional sentence is combining two sentences in one. There is a subclause and there is a main clause. The subclause, or sometimes it's called if clause, in simple present, and the main clause sometimes use simple future. Remember, the subclause or if clause use simple present, and then the main clause use in the simple future. Based on the subclause and main clause above, we can create the pattern of the conditional sentence type 1 or first conditional. It is subclause, comma, main clause, or main clause plus subclause. Or we can use a pattern. If sub plus subject plus verb 1 blah 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 SAS, comma, subject plus will or model plus verb 1 without S. For example, if I have a lot of money, I will treat you. It means that it's possible I treat you if I have money. Okay, the point one in understanding the conditional sentence type 1 is subclause and main clause. Once more, in understanding of conditional sentence, especially for first conditional sentence, is subclause and main clause. Now, it's time for us to do the exercise to measure your ability to understand about conditional sentence type 1 or first conditional. Have a look. Exercise number 1. Determine the following sentences. Which one is subclause and which one is main clause? For the first sentence, if they go home, I will with them. Number 2, if Nadine comes to my house, I will be happy. Number 3, if Randy passes the English exam, he will take course seriously. And for the exercise 2 is fill in the blank with the appropriate verb of conditional sentence type 1. Number 1, if something blah 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 happen, I will call you. Number 2, Robbie blah 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 or tell you do the truth if you ask him to. And number 3, I will buy your lunch if you blah 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 treat me. And I hope you pause the video, do it by yourself, take your note and your paper. After that, do it rightly. Okay, students, have you finished? If you are already finished, let's discuss. Let's discuss based on the exercise. For exercise number 1, if they go home, I will with them. The subclause is if they go home because there is a if clause, and I will with them, it is as a main clause. For the number 2, if Nadine comes to my house, I will be happy. If Nadine as a subclause and I will be happy as a main clause, it is a simple future. Number 3, if Randy passes the English exam, it is subclause, and he will take course seriously, it is main clause. Do you understand? And now let's check for exercise number 2. Fill the blank with appropriate verb of conditional sentence type 1. Number 1, if something blah blah blah, I will call you. So we can fulfill this blank message, the blank sentence, if something, because something is he, she, it, exactly is it. That's why it must be followed by verb 1 plus SAS. The answer is, if something happens, I will call you. And number 2, Robbie blah 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 tell you the truth if you ask him to. Robbie blah blah blah, that is a main clause. And then if you ask him to, it is subclause. That's why we can answer Robbie will tell you the truth if you ask him to. Number 3, I will buy your lunch. It is main clause. That's why it is simple future. And if you blah 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 treat me, it is subclause. That's why we use present simple. So the answer is if you treat me without S. Okay, I think that's all for our discussion today. And for more English grammar discussion, you can visit www.englishinow.wordpress.com. You will get anything about English exactly grammar lesson. I am Bambang Susanto, and for the last time, I wish assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.